the Republic Media Network headquarters, it's time for Arnab Goswami on the debate. Arnab Goswami on the debate.
Ladies and gentlemen, you know what's going on. We've lost our focus. When we talk about America, we only talk about Donald Trump. We only talk about tariffs. We only talk about India-US business relationship. We only talk about the Quad. We only talk about whether America is going to get its president to get the Nobel Prize. We have lost the real focus we need to have as a country about America. And that is that Indians are being killed in America. People of Indian origin are being killed. People who look Indian are being killed. People who speak in an Indian accent are being killed, shot dead. America is an acutely racist country. Your fellow Indians, people of Indian origin, all being killed, shot point blank, even beheaded, ladies and gentlemen, in racist America. Because they look like Indians and they speak an Indian language, they are being killed. And we are only focused about whether this man is going to get the Nobel Prize, about Gaza. What's wrong with us? What's wrong with us? In racist America, on the 3rd of October, Rakesh Patel, 51-year-old, an Indian origin motel owner, motel manager in Pittsburgh, was shot dead from point blank range. It is a racist killing. The visuals are there before you. He simply went across and asked Rakesh Patel, "How are you, bud?" and shot him. And we in India are not even talking about this racism, the targeting of Indians in shootouts and deliberate killings and murders across America. Ladies and gentlemen, on the 16th of September, Kiran Patel, a 49-year-old Gujarati woman, was shot dead on 16th of September in Southern California while she was counting cash. She was doing nothing wrong. It is not just a robbery. It is a targeting of Indians. This was a gas station come convenience store. And we here are not talking about racist America. Indians are under attack in America. Indians are being targeted for being Indian. Chandra Nagamulla, a motel manager from Karnataka, was brutally beheaded. That, ladies and gentlemen, the circle is his beheaded face. He was beheaded. His head was thrown and then kicked, and that killer picked up his head simply because there was an argument over a washing machine. And all these people are Indians and fellow Indians, ladies and gentlemen. They are from India. And we are quiet and talking about tariffs and Gaza and all this rubbish and the Nobel Prize. We got our focus wrong. In racist America, Leelamma Lal, 67-year-old, an Indian origin nurse, was brutally assaulted by a patient at Palms West Hospital in Florida on February 18th. It was not just an assault, she was racially abused. And you know what? We don't want to talk about it because we have lost our focus here in India. We want to talk about Trump and how funny it is. It's not funny. Indians and people from India and people of Indian origin are being targeted in America. I request the government of India to take a stand on it. Why is it? Why is it, ladies and gentlemen, that when this happens, when people are being killed and targeted, we say, oh, it's just crime, and a nation of 1.4 billion people is quiet about it? And nobody but Trump is behind the real reason for this savagery, because that man is the one drilling the hate against Indians in American minds. He's creating an anti-India atmosphere. It was evident when he said earlier this year, he says, many of our larger tech companies have reap the blessings of American freedom while building their factories in India, hiring workers in India and slashing profits in Ireland. Under President Trump, those days are over. It's a narrative setting. Trump wants to say that Indians are unwelcome. Indians should be pushed back. And look at the visuals of the violence. We show the violence. Show the pictures of the victims of the violence. People in India must know what's going on. You see, America is collapsing as a country. It's a dead economy. In fact, it's a far gone dead economy, ladies and gentlemen. It is on the verge of entering into a dramatic and damaging contraction. Many states are in recession already. The streets of Manhattan look like that. It's garbage. America is garbage country, ladies and gentlemen. People are sleeping on the roads, homeless, gun violence has taken over. 47,000 people have died of gun-related injuries. There is drugs, narcotics, dirt and garbage. This is the reality about America. The only reason America is surviving is because Indians have built America, like Satya Nadella, Sundar Pichai, Shantanu Narayan, Arvind Krishna. Indian students, ladies and gentlemen, are funding America, but it's gone, long gone. We help America. But people of Indian origin and Indians are being targeted in America, ladies and gentlemen. It's not small, $8 billion only by Indian students to America. Ladies and gentlemen, we are 1.5% of the American population, but 6% of their total income, 4 times compared to our population. And yet, these Trump supporters, they abuse India every day, every single day. That fellow, his advisor Peter Navarro, says India is a laundromat. But to Indians, I want to say this. We are really concerned about the violence in America, about the kind of visuals I began with today. We can show them again. We want to tell Indians in America, we know you are unwelcome in the United States of America. You went there with an American dream, but you are being made to feel unwelcome. Come back home. India has been declared today again by the World Bank as certain to be over the next year the world's fastest growing major economy. Why are you there in a country where the streets are full of garbage, where you're made to feel unwelcome, where through guns people are targeting you at every corner? Why do you want to risk yourself? Come back home. Don't live in racist America anymore. Contribute to the great India story. Let's debate.
Give it.
Okay.
They call it the land of the free and the home of the brave. But in the last 4 weeks, 4 brutal, violent and unpardonable attacks on Indian Americans in the US must have shaken the conscience of the free world.
Give it.
Okay.
4 days ago, 51-year-old motel manager in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Rakesh Patel, stepped outside his office to check up on an argument in the parking lot. What happened next will shock you. Rakesh was shot at in the head at point-blank range with a handgun. Then the attacker walked away casually as if nothing had happened. This brutal incident took place just a day after a 28-year-old student from Hyderabad, Paul Chandrasekhar, was shot dead outside a gas station in Dallas, Texas. Chandrasekhar was pursuing a master's at the University of North Texas and worked part-time at the gas station. His family is completely distraught over the brutal murder of their son. Just 2 weeks ago before this incident, in Southern California, 49-year-old Kiran Patel was shot dead at her workplace in a convenience store. The attacker attempted to loot at the convenience store at gunpoint. Kiran Patel threw whatever she could grab in self-defense and even attempted to flee. But the attacker ran after her as if to finish the job. This too happened just 6 days after 50-year-old Indian origin motel manager Chandra Nagamalaya was beheaded in broad daylight in Dallas, Texas. Yes, You heard that right. Watch the attacker casually walk about to the severed head, pick it up, and toss it to the side. While pedestrians and emergency service personnel stand helplessly and watch in horror. These are not just violent incidents in isolation. This is the reality of Indians in the racist America. They are not just motel workers, students, convenience store employees, techies. They are brothers, sisters, fathers and mothers. They are hardworking and law-abiding citizens failed by the so-called leader of the free world. Their authorities are deaf, their free press blind, and their Nobel Peace Prize hopefuls silent. Silent to the cries of millions of families living in terror and facing violent crimes each passing day in Trump's America.
Ravi Batra, why are you quiet? Indians are being killed all across, targeted killings of Indians. You owe it to speak up, Ravi Batra, but you're quiet. It's the silence of convenience. It is the utter silence of convenience, you know, which is the reason people like you who prospered in America won't speak up for fellow people of Indian origin. And that's shameful, Ravi. You see the visuals out there. Indians are being targeted, shot, point blank, because they're Indians. Don't you see the visuals? Racist America is my hashtag. Please speak up. Ravi Batra.
Good to be with you, Arnab. But let me just correct the record. I represented Kritika Biswas and won for her in American courts under American law. So American law and American justice works. As to the issue you're talking about today, every American joins me in giving condolences to the relatives of everyone hurt or killed. No country is free of crime.
On what basis do you say every American joins you?
Arnab,
do these white supremacists also join you?
Arnab, you had a 10-minute introduction. Allow me to respond at least to some of it, okay? So America is a most generous nation. It allows every country of every part of the world to come here and become an American. Ronald Reagan said it best. Anyone can come here and become an American. You know, there's a great movie, My Cousin Vinny. You know, there was a clerk shot. Okay, you know, Joe Pesci, Marisa Tomei. The crimes occur. They're not racist because you collect 10 people who were killed who happen to be Indian Americans. There are lots more killings that occur that would then put this into the infinitesimal range. America doesn't hate Indians. Americans doesn't hate Indians. This is a silly concept. And I want to tell you something. You are too much of a leader in journalism to do this, because you will actually cause damage on a bilateral level. You know, whatever our trade relations are, the negotiators are dealing with. I told you a few weeks ago, just like on a date, people have to understand each other's love language. So I will, you know, let Howard Lutnick and Scott Besson deal with Jayashankar and his team. But the fact remains, Americans are very generous. Just yesterday, a sanitation worker was decapitated, was beheaded by his stepson. They're not Indian. It's just some mentally deranged stepson who killed his loving stepfather. Okay? So crimes occur. It's very sad. That's when the human family should come together and say, wow, this is wrong. And we all stand together to give condolence and support to the victims' families. And
well,
by the way,
Ravi,
I applaud law enforcement for arresting the guy who killed Chandrasekhar. Okay? Right. I mean, why not applaud our law enforcement?
Yeah, I tell you why. Because we are both similar. We both wear glasses, but neither of us is blind. But the difference between you and me is that you're pretending to be blind, Ravi, and I'm not. And I'd say this to you. Listen to me tonight.
I think
I'd say this to you tonight, Ravi.
Or leave it. Listen,
I'd say this to you, Ravi.
If you don't love America, you should leave it.
No, I don't care about your streets full of garbage. Have you seen the pictures of Manhattan? Let me show the pictures, ladies and gentlemen. This is what America looks like nowadays. This
Wait
is
a
the
minute,
condition
wait
of
a minute.
America.
Why
Look
are
at,
you doing
this
that?
is
Why are
I'm
you
not
doing
doing
that?
anything. I don't envy you. I'm just saying, look at these pictures. Nobody envies you. Nobody wants to be American. Nobody wants to go to America. I'm concerned about my fellow Indians in the United States of America. And my concern is about people like Leelamma Lal, the visuals of the Indian origin nurse. She was brutally assaulted by a patient. And don't tell me it was just a crime. Can I have those visuals? Don't tell me it was just a crime. No, 1 minute. When, listen to me. When, can I have those visuals, producers, of the lady who was hit, the nurse? Thank you. Listen to me while I'm speaking, producers. Now, when she was being assaulted, it was accompanied by racial slurs. She was therefore, by consequence, targeted because of the color of her skin. You don't see that?
Fine.
You don't want to see that?
If one American is mentally deranged and wants to be racist, that doesn't make all of us racist.
No, but why is there so much racism? I'm not saying all Americans are racist at all.
I want to remind you that it was President Donald Trump who did the Howdy Modi event in Dallas, Texas, in his first term.
Don't involve me in 1 minute. Don't involve me in politics.
No foreign leader was given that kind of love by the president.
I am not
of the
talking
United
about
States
leader to
ever.
leader talk.
Okay?
I am about the people.
Listen, one thing nobody can accuse Donald Trump of is not knowing Americans. He won the vote with 77 million Americans. So his base very much follows when he embraces.
Okay, one question and then we are opening
Modi.
this up, all right, Ravi? And you're not going away anywhere because we agreed. You are not one-on-one, then we're going to get you on this debate because many guests are waiting. But I need to tell you this, Ravi. You see, I saw the pictures of Kiran Patel who was shot dead in September 16th in Southern California while she was counting cash.
It's a horror. But listen to me.
That is not a robbery. The person jumped over the till to shoot her. No, it was not a robbery. It was not a robbery. You want to say it was a crime. It was not a crime. It was not a crime.
No normal.
You want to dismiss it as a crime.
No normal person is a criminal.
I'm not saying he's a normal person. No murderer is a normal person.
Arnab, give me a minute. When you start with a criminal, you're dealing already with people who have mental defects.
You're not getting my point. You're not
a mentally defective person to be racist. It's one more category. Okay, but that doesn't make Americans racist.
I am not making a generalization of Americans being racist. I am saying there's increasing racism. Indians are feeling uncomfortable in Trump's America.
Now you're getting to a point. Now you're talking a point which is a nuance which concerns me, because that's why I said to you a few weeks ago, I want India to learn America's love language better, because 50 years worth of love between our two countries ought not be wasted. Okay? Or 75 years worth of love should not be wasted. And that's what I was saying.
Well,
so on that one nuance, you and I agree.
Oh, 1 minute. There's no nuance here. Shall I open up the panel here tonight? Ladies and gentlemen, we have Sushant Sareen. I think I saw him there. Sushant, would you like to respond to that while I welcome the other panelists tonight? We have Ray Locker. No, we have Peter Kuznick. From American University, joining us live from Tokyo this evening. We, of course, have Ravi Batra. We have Matthew Adam, senior journalist out there in the bottom left of your screen. We have Adrian Calamel, geopolitical expert, contributor at the Washington Outsider think tank. And Dr. Joseph Chalil, author and publisher of the Universal News Network. Sushant, what do you think is going on here? There are repeated instances. The visuals are there, but there are people in denial. What's your take? Sushant.
Arnab, I think what Mr. Batra was speaking about, I agree that many people will agree what has happened was wrong. But the problem is that there are just too many cases of wrong things happening. These are not isolated cases.
No.
They are happening with a level of frequency, and it's very easy to pass it all off as one mentally deranged person doing something. But there are just too many mentally deranged people in the US nowadays. So it seems quite clearly. So you really have a problem. Secondly, look, there has always been a problem of racism in the United States. People have tried to address it in one form or another. But in the US, where the Indian community is now getting caught up is between white racism and black racism. In many of the cases you will see, for example, that beheading case, that was a Latino fellow, right? This lady who was, or this gentleman who was killed in the parking lot, that I believe is an African American. There have been many other cases and innumerable cases of Indian students, for example, being targeted around campuses where they are working. And very often these are not whites who've been attacking them. These are people from other racial communities. So there is colored racism, and then there is the white racism. And what is happening is that the Indian community is getting caught in the crossfire for three broad reasons. One, they are very successful. Their median income is probably among the highest, is the highest among all racial groups. Secondly, they are better educated, most of them. Thirdly, these are people who do not have the same faith as the majority of the population out there. And finally, I think it's the color of their skin. So it's a multiplicity of factors. But what is added on and made them a soft target is a very targeted campaign of racism against the Indian community by the MAGA crowd, which is probably also being lapped up by a whole lot of other people. And you will see that, there'll be these silly charges of Indians taking away American jobs, as though Americans are going to make Nike shoes now, right? Or they're going to stitch shirts. That's not going to happen in the US.
May I respond? I want to just remind. I just want to remind you.
Things have moved on, and people are being targeted because it has become a kind of an accepted thing. I think there is also an element of that which is at play. Having said that, yes, I would agree that there are some things in America that still work, but I don't know for how long, because the way you have, a bull in a china shop approach of this administration, which is systematically dismantling everything that was nice and decent in the United States, is going out of the window. This is the same people or the same country which used to exhort the rest of the world on the rules-based order. This is the same country today which is breaking every rule in the book. Every rule in the book is being broken in international relations, and I suspect even in domestic policy. But domestic policy is not my business. What the Americans do to their country is their problem.
Yeah, he wanted to respond. Okay, you want to respond quickly. Ravi, before I open it up, Ravi.
I just want to remind your viewers that it was primarily Christian Americans at the founding of America that gave us freedom of speech and freedom of religion, okay? Because they were not Catholic. There were different variations of Christianity. The basis of American freedoms come from 1776 and 1787, and that's what humanity, the human family, loves America for, and that remains intact. As far as, what was just said, Donald Trump is dealing with very difficult issues, including corruption in the courts. Now, maybe some people in India may know something about that. I can tell you there's corruption in the courts. No. I'm bringing a federal lawsuit against New York State court system.
I think Donald Trump wants to make Indians feel unwelcome.
So
the issue is... The issue is he gains politically by building a narrative of Indians who are very successful and have contributed greatly. Four times the median income is that of the Indians who have worked out there, hard out there. You create a narrative that Indians are unwelcome. And I believe that is the reason why a 28-year-old Indian working part-time in a gas station gets shot dead. Because of the narrative being created by Trump these days. Peter Kuznick, what do you think, Peter? You're joining us this evening from Tokyo. What do you think, Peter?
I'd say Sushan made a lot of very, very important points. I'm an historian. I understand American history. I know that America was founded in racism. America was founded in slavery. We've tried to deal with that legacy, that history, but we've never succeeded. And now we've got this new phenomenon, Donald Trump. Maybe it's not new because racism has been endemic in America throughout our history. But Donald Trump has added a new level of racism, hatred, bigotry, anti-immigration sentiment, particularly targeting Indian Americans. But during his first term, he was targeting Muslims. Remember the Muslim ban? Now he's targeting Indians. And because he's got this hostile relationship with India and Modi now, 50% tariffs, this campaign against H-1B visas, 70% of the visa holders are Indians. And so it's not surprising that some people who are racist are targeting Indians, but it's probably South Asians more generally because they don't know the difference. So, but this is a kind of racism that's always been with us that Donald Trump has exploited. And a big part of his MAGA campaign and his electoral campaign was targeting, victimizing immigrants, all immigrants, especially undocumented, people who are here, who are essential for this country, make this country strong, do a lot of the work that we need. And immigrants have always been the lifeblood of this country. Indians have made a tremendous contribution to American greatness. But most or at least the Trump supporters and the MAGA base don't realize that. But many of them are also hurting economically, and they're looking for somebody else to blame. We love scapegoats in America, and right now the Indians are a convenient one.
Okay, let me get the other side. Let me get Matthew Vadum and Adrian Calamel in on that. Are Indians becoming a convenient scapegoat at a time when Americans are going through their own economic distress? Matthew.
I don't think Indians are a scapegoat in the United States at all. I don't know what you're talking about. I think that you're showing, 3 violent attacks on Indians, and you're saying that this means that there is this massive wave of attacks against Indians. Like that's just propaganda. You haven't made your case at all that these were motivated by race. Or that they're widespread. Shop owners, people who run businesses get attacked and killed all the time in the United States. The United States has a lot of violent crime. And, if some of the people are Indian who run, hotels and motels and convenience stores and gas stations, then, I guess they're going to be victims of crime, but I don't think they're being targeted because they are Indian. And I don't think you have any evidence.
Can I ask you?
Because if you did,
can I ask you? Okay, one minute.
You would have presented it instead of just ranting.
Matthew, don't get angry, okay? Don't get angry. Learn to look at it objectively. I'll tell you a couple of things out here. I'm not ranting. I'm asking you that you are saying with your whole lot of conviction, and you're not even being open to my perspective, which is why I hope you're not just being racist right now. You need to be open to all perspectives, Matthew. Now, the question is, you are saying that I'm making up this, that I'm a propagandist. Do you have any proof to prove that these attacks were not racist? Since you come with that perspective.
You cannot,
No. You are coming with a presumption that this is all crime. We are a crime-infested, violence-ridden, broken society. So we are a crime-infested, violence-ridden, broken society. And if Indians are being killed, it's part of the overall trend. That's what you're saying.
I'm saying there's no evidence of any hostility, of widespread hostility to Indians in America.
No, I'm sorry, but I've just given you several instances, not 3. Okay, let me ask you.
You're giving me like three instances, and then you got
so can you tell me what happened in Dallas recently?
There was an attack on somebody who was Indian.
Who was that? Who was that somebody?
Crime News very carefully.
Who was that somebody?
And this is terrible.
Who was that somebody?
Does that mean that?
Who was that somebody?
That it was motivated.
No, Matthew. Who was that somebody?
The person was of Indian ancestry.
No, Matthew. Listen. Matthew, listen.
Evidence
Matthew,
of that,
you just said you dismissed it as an Indian, as a somebody. First of all, that's a very contemptuous kind of reference. That person had a name. The fact that you don't know about it just shows how oblivious you are to the attacks that are happening on Indians. So you are oblivious of it.
The fact that I don't know much about it just shows that there's a lot of crime in America, and it's very difficult to pay attention to all of it.
Oh, so you're saying people are being shot everywhere.
Any occurrence of targeted violence.
No, but you need to be empathetic to what's happening out there. Mr. Chandrasekhar is a 28-year-old student. He was pursuing a master's degree in data analytics at the University of North Texas. Like all hardworking Indians, he was working part-time at a petrol gas station to support himself, right? Now, this was not a robbery. He was killed. Give me one reason other than the color of his skin and the fact that he was an Indian, which is the reason he was killed.
The burden is on you to prove
why is the burden on me?
Because he was Indian.
No, Ray, I mean, this is like transferring the burden of proof.
That wild assertion and then have nothing to back it up.
There is no assertion out here. There are repeated instances that
you have to have proof.
I'm just seeing a very insensitive approach by a MAGA supporter on my program who doesn't seem to care about what's happening to Indians in his own country.
Who's a MAGA supporter? I'm a journalist.
No, but my question is, you don't even know these cases. You're saying, when I'm telling you that America has turned into a country full of crimes against Indians, and you don't care. You're just being so blind to what's happening around you. And Ray, this is my point of concern. What has America become? I mean, I just have Americans who come on the program and say, listen, in this our country, we kill each other, we behead each other, we're becoming violent, we're becoming racist. One of our podcast hosts was shot. Deal with it. We're a violent, gun-infested, racist country. That's what we've become. Peter, you're hearing this tonight, and that's why, I cannot believe that you're a journalist with this level of insensitivity there. You're not seeing the pattern. You want me to give you more examples. Peter, you want me to give you more examples, is it, Matthew?
You don't have any proof that
what proof?
That there is target
a 50-year-old man, okay, a 50-year-old motel manager from Karnataka in India was beheaded after a conversation over a washing machine.
You said that already.
Right? The accused stabbed him multiple times with a machete, chased him down the parking lot, decapitated him and kicked his head.
What is the ethnic origin, what is the the ancestry of the victim have to do with anything? Unless you have actual proof that he was targeted because of his skin color. This is
the typical Ku Klux Klan argument. How do you prove that we are racist? We're just a congregation of like-minded people. That's what the Ku Klux Klan used to say.
Back to the point, you can't prove
That's what the Ku Klux Klan used to say. We are just a congregation of like-minded people who like wearing these white robes.
How can
you prove we are racist?
Disprove a negative. This is the essence of propaganda.
No, the essence is what you're saying. I mean, this is exactly the argument. How do you prove we are racist? This is just ordinary crime. Peter, this is very worrying. And people are calling in tonight, viewers, into my program. This is the most watched program on Indian television, by the way. And they are saying, how is this person being so blasé about what's going on?
Blasé? I'm not being blasé. Crime is a terrible thing. And it's terrible that these victims have to suffer their fate.
This is the reality of America. Watch this closely. Peter.
Them being Indian, you need to come up with some evidence, or you can't make that allegation.
Peter. Open the lines.
There seems to be clearly an increase in high-profile cases where Indians are being killed now. Are they being deliberately targeted? Perhaps, because they're dark-skinned and because there's a lot of racism in the United States now, much more than there was before. Trump has legitimized it. But if you look at Trump's rhetoric, Trump's track record, and what the courts have done recently, especially the Supreme Court, is to deny this history of racism. And so it legitimizes it for people who are psychologically impaired, unbalanced, extremist. They feel legitimized in doing things that under other circumstances they wouldn't be willing to do or feel free to do. So we're in a bad situation now. Plus, Americans are hurting economically. And so some of it is a result of poverty. Some, as the previous speaker said, is a result of crime. You have to remember the United States is a gun-infested society. There are more guns than people here. So it's easy to commit horrible, violent crimes. And is that increasing now? We have the National Guard in the streets. We've got the Marines in Los Angeles. We've got the crazy stuff going on where Trump's pushing a form of fascism in the United States, which is becoming more virulent, more hostile, more counterposed to each other. Americans are so bitterly divided now that we're seeing levels of hostility where we should be able to talk. We should be able to communicate with each other about what's going on without having to demonize.
We are talking on Indian airwaves, and whatever domestic policy issues we have or don't have, It's for American airwaves, not for Indian airwaves. All I can tell you
Why is it not? Why is it not? Gujaratis own 60% of all motels in the United States of America. They are less than 1% of the American population.
Love Indians in general, okay? Americans in general love Indians in general, okay?
That's a very general
comment. If that
comment.
wasn't the case, you would not see Indian Americans at the head of the biggest American corporations. So Americans love Indians. There's no issue there. Now, how we deal with crime, how we deal with mental hygiene, how we deal with lunatics, that's a public safety issue to be handled by each executive.
Ray, to that I would add. Ray.
Yes.
How much of the present worrying situation has to do with the narrative that Trump has created, that Indians are taking away American jobs, Indians are taking away American opportunities. It is because of Indians that Americans are losing out.
Well, I don't think it helps. I mean, obviously that stirs up passions among a certain percentage of the population. In these two instances, the one in Pittsburgh that keeps showing up on the screen and the one in Texas, I don't think they were the result of anti-Indian racism. I think they were the fact that these people work in a gas station and a motel in not a great area, and they were targeted by a Hispanic and a black man, not some MAGA white guy wielding a gun. That said, we do see anti-Indian tensions pop up every once in a while. I remember, Arnab, you and I talked.
Are you saying Hispanics? I thought an increasing number of Hispanics and African Americans were Trump supporters, as per data.
A marginal percentage, but it's not like, oh, now you have these MAGA Hispanics and blacks. That guy on the screen who shot the poor guy in Pittsburgh, he's not a MAGA supporter. He's a stone criminal. He was killing a bunch of people, and that is a sad fact of American life. You have a ton of people with guns who don't need to have guns, obviously don't need them for self-protection. They're using them for crime. That's a problem. We haven't dealt with it. It's a problem. Is there anti-Indian racism among some people? Most definitely there is. I was going to say, Arnab, you and I talked like 10 years ago in a case where there was an Indian man walking around a neighborhood where his son lived in Alabama, and somebody called in and said, hey, there's this strange guy walking down the street.
Yeah.
And he was harassed and beaten by the police.
Yes.
Was that racism? Maybe, probably. But look, stuff like that happens. There are more Indian Americans now than ever before. They tend sometimes to be in places where they're victims of crime. And I don't think it helps that the President of the United States and his supporters are whipping up tensions about H-1B. Can you attribute these latest crimes to that? I don't think you can. But it all kind of adds up into this toxic stew of racism, inflammatory rhetoric. It doesn't help people, and it pits people against each other who don't need to be pitted against each other. And
that's a valid point. What you're saying is, okay, each instance may be not a response to the individual being Indian, but or a specific hate crime, but there is an overall situation which has been created, in which every argument, every time, Adrian, that you demonize Indian workers, every time that you target Indians as a people who take away Indian American jobs, each time you target Indian students, each time you put a cap on international undergraduate enrollment, each time that you fuel the fire, adds to the kind of situation we're seeing today. Adrian, I'm sure you wouldn't disagree with that.
No, I wouldn't disagree with that, but I would also question whether any of the perpetrators had any knowledge of this, had any knowledge of these things. The one person, the person who beheaded the hotel owner in Texas, that person was on the ICE list to be detained, and then he was released. Let me back up. This is a law and order problem that we are dealing with in the United States. Now, people can scream about what Trump is saying about Indian workers taking away jobs from Americans. Listen, I was in the outsourcing industry in 2004, and remember John Kerry going along this in the same language, talking about this, and I was in client meetings trying to convince them that this was just hyperbole. It's just to try and tip the scales. It's for an election. All right. It's a law and order issue. Trump is trying to deal with the individuals who are not supposed to be in this country. All right. And also the individuals that have been released, serial offenders. I don't know what the guy's history is who gunned down the hotel manager in Pittsburgh, but he had already been in an altercation with his girlfriend and a small child, and Indian man doing the thing he should do that I would hope most Americans would do, stood up, and he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. You need to look at a bigger sample of this. And when it comes to hate crime in America, the largest targeted group, and it's a much smaller number of, if you look at population in America, is Jewish population. Anti-Semitism is off the charts compared to hate crime targeting any other group. You need a larger sample than 4 incidents over a bunch of years.
Adrian, even if I were to take that argument, I remind you that Trump does not just target H-1B professionals coming in. He targets their families, Joseph. He targets the family members of those coming in on H-1B visas. He said in September, the very idea, these are his quotes, Joseph, the idea that inexpensive tech consultants should be coming into this country and bringing their families. This is just wrong. So he goes after the families as well. These are Trump quotes, Joseph. And these are the quotations that filter down the population. Joseph.
I agree, Arnab. The rhetoric, we need to tone it down. But my heart goes out as an American citizen, as a faculty at the university here, as a board member of the university. My heart goes out, and my apologies to the families of the victims, especially the students. So that being said, America is not a racist country per se. I've been to almost every country in the world. America, I would say, even though there is racism in existence here, it's the least racist country in the world. But given being said that, America does have a law and order problem. American cities are violent. 80 people getting shot in Chicago, even one weekend. So that is there. America has a mental health issue problem. They have a shortage of mental health centers, psychiatry centers, and America has a drug addiction problem. I was personally involved with the nurse Leela Malal's case, which you show images of the nurse being beaten. This was a case where my neighboring hospital admitted a Baker Act patient. A Baker Act is when a patient who is very violent at home or outside is admitted without his permission by police to a psychiatry facility, a psychiatry ward. A hospital, by mistake, admitted this patient to a general ward, and Leela was taking care of it, or she was the nurse for that patient. So she wasn't attacked because she was Indian, but she happened to be a general nurse managing a psychiatry patient who was out of control. So that is a funding issue. And then we talk about the students. I mean, my heart goes out to all the students who are on F1 visa in the US. They are not authorized to work outside. So if you are finding work in a gas station or in a motel or anywhere else, so that means you are, the places that offer such work are locations which are unsafe even for normal Americans to go to. There are zip codes which are not safe. As I said, America has a law and order issue.
No, but you're not. No, but this is what's filtering down. See, I don't. Just you have to accept the problem. Nobody is willing to accept that there is a problem. Okay, I'm talking about Indians because I'm Indian, and this is an Indian news network. But you ask people of Chinese origin, ask people what's happening in America today. If foreign professionals, people with other accents are not welcome in your country, say so. And I'm saying today, Sushant, that Indians should come back. We become part of the Build India story. This is the world's fastest growing economy. Why do you need to be in America? I mean, it's an open call. Look at people here like Sridhar Vembu. Look at he built Zoho. It's giving Salesforce and Microsoft a good run for its money. He's built a $2 billion revenue company bootstrapped after coming from the US. So I think we need to think straight. Sushant, Peter.
Arnab, that's a completely different argument, and I think you need a different program for that. This is not the forum for that particular argument because there's then a whole lot of other stuff that I would say on how you have to create an enabling environment for these people to come back, create a situation for them where they're incentivized to come back. But I don't want to get into that argument, right? So, but on the look, I agree with all the other people that there is a law and order
Matthew
problem.
Wadham.
There is a latent racism problem which occasionally erupts, and there are occasions when certain groups are come in the crosshairs. The Indians have been coming in the cross. Arnab, you are dealing with the recent 4 or 5 cases. Over the last 2 odd years, there have been many, many cases where Indians have been targeted. Look, okay, if you want to make a very technical, legalistic argument that you're on a certain category of visa as a student and you're not allowed to work, I would rather that a student comes on a visa and then finds some work to sustain himself, to pay for his education, or at least manage himself rather than indulging in crime. I thought America was the country which allowed this kind of a thing, which supported this kind of a thing. This is how a whole lot of people went and managed to study in the United States, managed to build a life in the United States. It was the land of opportunity. This is the kind of opportunity they would give to people. To say that, look, your visa certainly, and I'm not saying that you should do something illegal, but this is at best an infraction. This is not even a felony. This is not a crime, right? But that's again another argument. But I don't think this is an argument that should be made. If there is bad law and order, one of the reasons why the Indians get caught in the maelstrom of bad law and order is because they are seen as soft targets. These are not violent people. These are mostly very educated people who want to, who are professionals, who want to build a life, who want to do business in a normal way. You will not find the Indians becoming members of cartels. You will not find the Indians indulging in all kinds of violent crime, being parts of gangs. You will not see them, getting into drugs and other kind of stuff. So they are easy targets. And you have a law and order machinery which doesn't care much for them because these guys are politically not pulling their weight. They might have done well financially, but they don't use it to increase their political power. So as a result, they are considered pushovers. And if somebody wants to do a violent crime, who do you want to pick up? The easiest guy to pick up is a guy who's come from 10,000 miles away, doesn't have any contacts out here, is working in a small kind of a job to eke out some kind of an existence so that he can build up his finances. He's doing that. He's the easiest guy you can target. And there have been many, many cases in the US over the last year and a half, 2 years, where Indian students who have been either pizza delivery boys or something or the other have been targeted. And I would, if it was an isolated case, I would imagine that, okay, this is fine. It's not a big deal. But clearly, this is no longer an isolated case. This quite clearly, it seems that they are being targeted because you can do it and you can get away with it. And
I think one of the reasons they're being targeted also here, and Matthew, maybe you'll be open to this, is because this is one of the most successful ethnic groups in the United States of America, doing really, really well. Therefore, there's a lot of jealousy about the Indian American community, which is largely 50% Hindu, right? 70% of them are American citizens, and they are very successful. There are over 5 million, right? And there are 6-fold contributors of income tax, which just tells you how well they are doing, Matthew. You see, America, Matthew, is doing badly, and Indian Americans are doing phenomenally well. You can't target a Indian professional who's doing extremely well, so you target the Indian working in a gas station. This social divide is quite apparent. Is it also apparent to you?
Do you want me to respond?
Yes, I do.
Okay, well, people in America, people of Indian origin, tend to do better financially than native-born U.S. citizens.
Yeah.
So they're doing quite well. You even look at the vice president as his wife is Usha Vance, is of Indian ancestry. I think she was born in America. Yes, sometimes people who are doing well economically, financially, are targeted by criminals. And some of those people are bound to be Indian. But this doesn't tie into this grand theory you have that Indians as a group are being targeted in the United States. I think that Indians have been victims of crime because of circumstances, and it's unfortunate. Like, look at back in the 90s, in the 80s and 1980s,
Things are worse
1990s,
now.
2000s.
Things are much worse
we
now.
used to talk about Korean Americans being targeted by criminals in the inner city because they controlled a lot of, they had a lot of grocery stores, convenience stores, and so on, and so they were targeted by criminals. Does that mean that there was a widespread targeting of Korean Americans? I don't think the evidence supports that. So, you know, Indians do very well in America, and I'm sure that some people resent it, but that doesn't mean that there is this widespread move.
The point is, see, Matthew, you are arguing to a point where you say that unless 1 out of every 2 Indians is brutally assaulted, you have nothing to prove that these killings or murders or assaults amount to anything. And I think that is a dangerous situation. You must awaken yourself to what's happening around you in order to stem it. You know, we can't look away. Peter, you heard Matthew's point out there, and that seems pretty much a general response across America today. There's nothing wrong. We are fine. We're fighting the entire world. Trump, MAGA, tariffs. We're going to win. This seems to be the approach.
We need to look at it in a broader context. Right now, the U.S. has less social mobility than do most European countries. The ability to go from being poor to rags to riches story is a fantasy. That's not the reality for most Americans. The gap between rich and poor is enormous in the United States, and it's growing. And so you put that together with the poverty, the fact that people are less optimistic about the chances for the future, and you're going to have more crime. And you put that together with all the guns in the United States, there's going to be a lot of violence. On top of that, you've got Trump looking for scapegoats. His anti-immigration policy was targeting a lot of different immigrant groups. But since he got into office, he's picked a fight with India. And he's done it very visibly and very publicly. And so the 50% tariffs, the H-1B visas, is Indian students, the wealthy Indians. And on top of that, you put people like Vivek Ramaswamy, what his name was in charge of Doge from the beginning. And so Americans were resentful because they hated Doge. It wasn't just Elon Musk laying off all these people. And so the Indians were very visible and are very visible in America. So some of it is racism, some of it is socioeconomics and poverty, some of it is crime, some of it is guns. There's a lot of different factors. And I think that's what Matthew and the others are trying to say, that maybe, yes, there is a lot of racism, and maybe that's behind some of this, but there's a lot of other factors at play also that are very unfortunate in America today.
Okay, I'm taking out. We've got a lot of callers. We have Rohan calling in from Mumbai. Rohan?
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, loud and clear. Yes, Rohan.
The Americans need to wake up and smell the coffee. Children are being shot. Podcasters are being shot. I mean, it's so scary. You don't know if your child is going to come back from school. At least in our country, I know that if I send my son to school, I know that he's going to come back. I mean, it's that scary. It's really concerning. But the problem is that these Americans live in a bubble of their own. And they think that we are the rulers of the world. It's not like that. You guys really need to get your act together.
Rohan, next caller. Yes, Rohan, I really think so. And you can see that the concern, because there are so many Indians and so many Indians who send their children to American universities, and people are truly, truly concerned about how safe America is. Not only about Indians, America is becoming one of the most unsafe places to live in the entire world, especially American cities, downtown New York, places like that. Jyoti from Bengaluru. Jyoti.
Good evening, Arnab.
Good evening, Jyoti. What do you think?
Happy to speak to you. And I'm so happy that you're the only channel showing this on TV today. I'm so happy about it.
Thank you.
I have my son in America, and incidents like this gives me sleepless nights.
Yes.
And what they don't understand is, all those on your panel from America, what they don't understand is America wasn't built overnight. It was built because of immigrants, and most of it were Indians.
Absolutely.
They need to understand that. I don't know why that man is, spewing venom against India now with tariffs, with H-1B. Children go there with a dream, and they build their country, and they know that pretty well, that we are building America. And still this man goes on and on, and incidents like this, back home, we parents have sleepless nights.
Of course,
See, when
Rupali.
Americans come to India, we keep it safe for them. Why don't they do the same for Indians when they go there?
Precisely. And answerability, answerability is just not there. Thank you, Jyoti. Rupali from Mumbai. Rupali.
Hi, Arnab.
Hi, Rupali. Hi.
Amazing to see you back on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And yes, so I just want to post a question to all the Americans on our panel today.
Get Matthew on full frame. Yeah.
Yes. That they have this thing that, they have this violence and violence and everything going on in their country. And it's all right, or somebody's mentally ill. But one incident because India has 1.4 billion people, if one U.S. citizen is killed by an Indian under any circumstances, and if we say that he is mentally ill or mentally unstable, will they let it go?
Precisely. Matthew, you want to take that? Matthew, if a single American citizen is targeted, or a person of American origin is targeted in India, it becomes a big deal. But you don't expect to have similar concerns on the other side. You want to respond there to Rupali from Mumbai?
Well, I suppose it would be news in the United States, but it doesn't mean that that Americans are being absent for other evidence. It doesn't mean that there's a targeting of Americans in India. So
okay.
I'm not sure what the caller's actually really getting at.
Matthew, you need to have an open mind on this, Matthew. You need to have an open mind. You need to have an open mind for viewers calling all over tonight. We are all extremely concerned, and I thank everyone for supporting Republic as we pick this up. We have reporters on the ground, and we'll bring you stories of the horrible things that are happening in the US. And it is generally also expected that our government will pick this up much stronger than it has. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all for tonight. See you tomorrow. Good night and goodbye.
Time for a quick breather. Arnab will be right back with the debate.